let's get into the panel. Let's start off with the first topic. And you spoke about before the basking in the glory of that 3-3 draw at the Etihad. We'll start with you, Jacob. Do you think Spurs are back on track now?
I don't know about back on track. I think that we showed we can get a job done with a certain select of people, and it's just about mentality at this point. Like, when you get hit, how do you respond? And we showed that several times. We're going to get hit. We're going to hit ourselves. And that's just the nature of the beast when you're literally at the prepubescent stages of something, what I would call a rebuild. I know some people are afraid of the R word, but I would say for me, I'm so excited at what we're doing, what I saw the first 10 matches. But as we all know, you take one little Jenga piece out of that and it could all come crumbling down. We took 4 out at once, and that was a product of our own stupidity at times, and then a product of some things outside of our control, what I would call this American football timeouts. I think that's what led to Mickey Van de Veen's injury. Personally, the fact that we had 5 VAR timeouts in the first half, this man is stopping on a very cold day. Any athlete knows when you go out there and you put that much pressure on your muscles and you're warmed up and then you're standing around cooling down in a cold environment, that's naturally going to happen. Some would say as a young man, that's his duty to stay warm and stay stretched, but to Mickey Van de Veen's 6th gear, I'm not meaning to get off track here, but Mickey Van de Veen's 6th gear, to me, is not like anyone else's. So how is a young man supposed to know how to keep that stretch? Anyway, I digress. My point is, I don't think we're back. I think we've seen that we're able to answer a call, that people can listen and buy into what Ainge is saying. And look, we got a 3-3 draw. Some people are saying we're going to go in there and get stomped 4-1, 6-0 if we go play our style. And we played our style, modified it a little bit, and look what we did.
Brian, do you agree? Do you think that we just need to put the brakes on a bit? We're not back just yet. We need to get the players back. Or do you feel like that we can handle ourselves now after showing what we did at City, and potentially we are back and we can go on a good run now?
I think what we have done, excuse me, is we've stopped the right of the media and all the pundits talking, oh, the Ange bubble has burst and here we go, it's downward spiral. I think that type of performance with the depleted squad we have, you only can take a huge amount of positives for it. The teamwork, the togetherness, the never give up attitude. But to say we're back is a hugely over the top statement. It's a great starting box to build again from. Put another couple of wins together. If we get 6 points out of the next games, you can start saying it's Tottenham back, or what we saw at the beginning back. But yeah, after one performance, don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic performance. You can't just go and go, oh, everything's all right now. But it's a great starting block.
But you got to say, Brian, as much as we've had a depleted squad, the performances, take that Wolves game out of it. Wolves was obviously very disappointing, but apart from that, we've actually been performing quite well, right? Against Aston Villa, we had good performance for the most part. And against Man City, obviously that second half was a brilliant showing. So I can't see why we're not going to go on a good run now. I really can't.
Well, what I will say is, like you said, the performances have been stellar. Listen, Villa, the first half, no one can deny that's some of the best football we've seen recently at Tottenham. But
what else I would add to that, Brian?
Haven't got the points in the bag, have they? That's the problem. If we got points for performances, then we'd all be laughing. We need points, and we've started with that point against Man City. I think come the end of the season, it's going to prove to be a lot bigger than we're thinking it is now.
I was just going to add that I think the schedule at this point as well. Look at how many teams in the Big Six that we've played. All of them. So yeah, at this point, who can we not play our style against? I would argue I'm excited with one leg, one arm, and damn pirate patch on another eye, and we still got the job done versus what a lot of people would say contenders and favorites for the Premier League and the Champions League. To me, if I can't bask in some honor in that, then I just wouldn't be the same football fan that I am today. So I definitely take something from that. I know it's a 3-3 draw, and some people say don't celebrate a draw like a win, but to me, it's not celebrating a draw like a win. I've always in my personal life as well enjoyed when someone tells you can't do something and you go out there and you do it and you prove them wrong. That's the mentality thing. You can't buy that. Emerson Royale, perfect example. Is he a good footballer? No. Do we all think that he's going to be a key cog and a piece of Tottenham and a future successful team? No, I don't think so, at least. But
you
what
know,
he
you
has
got
is something that you can't really coach.
I think that when you're looking at the last 3 games, I feel like we're over the worst now. You know, Romero's coming back in for Emerson, and I think Emerson's been a massive down part in our play over the last 3 games against Wolves. I think that when he was coming into the middle, we just couldn't keep hold of the ball in the middle of the park. His ball retention was awful. Against Man City, playing out the back in that first half, I was banging my head against the wall watching Emerson in that first half, albeit he did kind of improve in that second half. But now Romero is back. I think that brings us like massively up to the levels where we want to be. But Sim, first of all, welcome to the stream.
Thank you.
And do you think Spurs are back?
Are we back? I don't think we went anywhere. I wonder. Look, are we back? Are you basically
Are we back on track? I mean,
basically the question is, are we back to the
can we
levels?
go on a good run now? Basically,
That's okay. Is that the question? Can we go on a good run? I don't see why not. I don't see why not. I think, yes, we've had a tough time with injuries and the results have really gone against us, losing 3 on the trot and haven't won in 4 games. But I thought already against Villa there were signs that that this team can cope in terms of playing the football and Postecoglou wants to implement in the team, and them being able to execute that kind of football, them being able to play the nice interchanges. I think everyone was watching that Wolves game, and it wasn't just the result that worried everyone. It was just how we played, right? It was how stodgy we looked, how lack of creativity we looked, how we just weren't being able to play our football at all. And the big fear in that going into the after that game was, with all these injuries, is this the football we're going to have to come to expect now until we get the players back, till we get Maddison back? And what that Villa game proved to me is that no, we have players here that can play how Ange wants his team to play. He saw that the Wolves game wasn't working, and then against Villa, I know we still lost, but we created so many chances. We were able to open up Villa on multiple occasions, and we were able to open them up playing really great football. So for me, already in that game, that even though we lost, that gave me enough hope to tell me that we can cope without these injuries. And then going to the Etihad with Emerson and Davis and getting a point. Again, we had to ride our luck at times, but that second half performance was brilliant. And we really, again, dominated possession. We outpassed Man City, and we ended up going there and getting a point at the end of the day and showing really great mentality, going behind twice and coming back twice as well. So I wouldn't say based on the Man City game, like we're back. I would say based on the Villa game, I don't see why we can't go on a good run. I would say it was based on that game was convinced me he has the players here to still play good football even with those injuries. So I'm looking at the fixtures ahead, and I don't think there's any easy game in the Premier League. I think all the games, they all bring their own challenges, and there's no games where you're guaranteed a victory. You have to earn every victory that you get. But I go into all these games not fearing anyone. If you can go to the Emirates and with Emerson and Davis and get a point, why would you fear anyone?
Etihad, yeah.
Sorry, we also went to the Emirates, but not with Emerson and Davis.
The Dekihad is called now anyway. The Dekihad.
Like if we go to the Etihad and get a point with that team, why should we fear anyone else? And why should we not play our football? Why should these players go into any game not thinking that we can outpass the opposition, we can outplay the opposition? Why? We just went to the Etihad with these two centre-backs and with a much changed midfield, and we got a point. And it wasn't just down to luck. I know we got lucky in the first half, but it wasn't purely just down to luck that we got the point. So
maybe not
for me,
purely down to luck, but there was definitely big elements.
No, but I agree. Look, first half we should have been out. They should have been outside. But second half, we played our game, and they had City struggled to deal with that as well.
And also a certain refereeing decision at the end.
Yeah, but there's no guarantee he would have scored that. There's no guarantee he would have scored that.
That's a human error. A human error is a guarantee in life, I think. And a human making a human error on the pitch is going to happen. This wasn't a VAR technology, a line drawing. This wasn't This was a guy on the pitch with a bunch of things going on. You saw his face afterwards. He knew what he did. Am I going to be upset about that? No. Calls go left, calls go right. You can't complain about the direction. You just got to keep going forward, in my opinion. So I never blame VAR. I never blame refs. I never give them credit, and I don't give them blame because they are a constant. You know that they will give you bad calls, good calls all throughout the 90. It is your job as a player, manager, to respond and do something within the other minutes that remain. That's just my personal opinion.
No, 100% spot on. 100% spot
People
on.
act like Grealish had an open goal ruled out or something like that. Well, I mean, he still had quite a bit to do from that position. He had Davis on him. He had two defenders tracking back him as well.
He's not the fastest, is he?
He's not the quickest. So there's no... And also, the way the play played out, when the referee blew his whistle, it made Grealish look a bit more in on goal than maybe he would have been if play would just continued. So, in my opinion, obviously, it's a massive error from the ref, but I don't think it's like something where yes, we got lucky, but there's no guarantee that turns into a goal at all.
They wouldn't be complaining about it had they put away 3 of the 5 chances that went off the bars. So that's not our fault.
Haaland's
either.
open goal as well. Haaland's open goal, you know. It's
even
our
hit the
fault how
target.
they're getting in there with bloody Emerson Royale passing it, playing them through on goal pretty much every time, which was very frustrating. But look, it looks like we're seeing the back of Emerson now because Coutinho Romero is back in the team, and I think we'll be much better off for it. And when you're looking forward at the next couple of games, I mean, Jacob, how many points are you expecting over the next 2 games, West Ham and Newcastle at home, over the next 5 days?
Well, we played this game last time. We ended up getting 1 point.
Yeah.
For the last 4 games.
Look, I like to look forward as well, and not too far forward. But Newcastle's obviously a very tough opponent. Whether you're at St. James, whether they're coming to your home, I think it's going to be a tough matchup. I would be good with this squad. I mean, who else could we potentially have back at that time? Papa Matasar, and that's about it. I don't know what other players we might be getting back. Maybe a fully fit Richarlison. I don't know what that really makes me feel any better going into Newcastle necessarily. But I look at West Ham, and I think that's absolutely a game where we should go out there and keep building on what we built on what we did in that second half versus City. If we can build on that and take that to West Ham, why can't it translate into 3 points? We're at home. I think the crowd's going to massively be behind the lads as well, because look at what we did away from home. You bring that, I think, I look at a lot of things when it comes to West Ham as far as talent level, as far as players. Even though we're missing a few players, you should still stack up pretty decently with that. Now, when you look at Newcastle, I think that's a little bit different. But still, I would like our chances at home. I would think that they're playing just as, they've played a lot of, I think, what was it, West Ham 6 games in the last 13 days, something, or 15 days, something like that, and we haven't had that. So we have fresher legs. We're going to play the same way that we play, which is high press, high energy, lots of running, and we should come out on top, of my opinion, when it comes to West Ham. So when you look at the 2 next games, I would say 4 points, I think, is a fair shout for the next 2 matches.
Sim, you agree?
I'm looking at 6, to be honest. I don't see why we can't. 2 home games, 2 teams who I think are not. Look, they're 2 aggressive teams, and they're 2 very difficult teams. But I don't see
2 teams with big aerial ability against the likes of Romero and Davis.
Yeah, okay,
Romero's
but
not necessarily bad in the air, though.
And you saw how Haaland beat Davis beat Haaland in the air for that for the equaliser.
Decky didn't have bad in the air either. Air Decky as well. He did dunk on the man like LeBron, hit him with the LeBron James celebration.
I don't see any reason. I think it will be 2 games where we dominate possession. I think, especially the West Ham game, they're going to play in a low block. They're going to try and frustrate us, but I think we'll be ready for that. Newcastle's obviously different kettle of fish, but they got a lot of injuries. I know they're still playing well, but I don't see a reason why we can't go out in confident mood. And I think if we can if we play like we did against Villa and we did against the second half against City, I see 2 wins. I really do. I don't see why we can't. Not expect that, but like realistically think that we can get those results. And I think it's important to get back to winning ways as well, because it's all well and good playing well, but you got to be getting the results to kind of to show the improvement in performance as well. So for me, in a weird way, even though the last 2 games we haven't won, it's convinced me more that we can win those games rather than maybe even beforehand. Like I remember when we went through predicting the results like a few weeks ago, we were asking over the next 4 games or 5 games how many points we reckon, and I think I said 5 points or something over those games. I think we ended up getting 1, but what I would say is the performances have convinced me even more that we can actually win these games rather than beforehand where we weren't playing as well and I was being a bit negative. But I'm looking at how we're playing. I'm thinking, I don't see a reason, even with Lo Celso there and Kulusevski in the centre, why can't we play a football against even a good Newcastle team and score goals? Like Lascelles is still going to be there. They're still going to have lots of injuries. I think we can get 2 wins.
I agree. I agree with that. And I've never actually seen it before when we've had such a string of negative results, 3 losses and a draw, regardless of who they're against. And Spurs fans on the other side are being like, you know what, I've seen a lot of positives there and we can actually go on and do something over the next few games. But Brian, we've just been going around the room saying how many points we think we can get in the next 2 games. I think me and Sim have both agreed on 6 points. Jacob has said 4 points. What are you looking at?
Yeah, first of all, I apologise for that delay. My wife has just ordered all of Walmart. Walmart is closed. There is nothing to buy. I'm with Jacob. I'm 4 because Newcastle terrify me. We don't. They're a team that at Tottenham we don't have the best of records, especially at the new stadium. That game terrifies me. Can I see 6?
But Brian, let me just tell you before you go with Newcastle. Their last 5 away games, they've lost 2-0 to Bournemouth. They've won 3-0 against Man United. They've drawn 2-2 against Wolves, 2-2 against West Ham, and they've lost 3-1 to Brighton.
Well, that fills me with a bit more confidence. From what I remember, Nick Pope is out, isn't he?
Yeah.
Another injury, yeah.
Rumours of David De Gea coming in.
Yeah, Ryan mentioned that today when we're doing Cockerel Doodle Doo. Let's see if that happens. Who is it? Is it still Karius or whoever?
Dubravka, I think. Is it not Dubravka?
Oh, of course, it's
Dubravka,
him,
yeah.
I didn't know Dubravka.
Yeah, I mean, that away form obviously is worrying for Newcastle. That leads me more to thinking 6 points is obtainable, especially with Nick Pope out, who's massive for them. But I going into it, I was saying 4, but you are winning me over to 6 now.
You're easily swayed, Brian. You're easily swayed.
Yeah, that's one of the things people know me for, being easily swayed on subjects. Yeah.
I just think I remember all too well Newcastle last year. They're not too much different than they were last year. We are though, so the results should be different. But it would still lend me to believe, or at least err on the side of caution, whereas I normally get, head over heels whenever it's 24 hours before kickoff. I mean, 24 hours before kickoff, I'll probably tell you we're going to beat Newcastle. But in the week build up to it, I think is when you're going to get the most rational point of view from me. And, looking at it from a bird's eye view, Newcastle have only gotten better. I don't think the only thing that they've done is had a more compacted schedule versus higher ranked opponents in the likes of PSG and whoever else. They were in the group of death for what it's worth. And they're still probably going to make it out. And look, they're no easy team. We are going to be coming off of a very short turnaround. That is our first very short turnaround, if I'm not too mistaken. Or I think the Fulham Carabao Cup, but we did heavy rotate. But in the Premier League, this is our first big turnaround. So it's going to be a huge test, not only because of Newcastle, but because of the scheduling as well. But I think, again, West Ham, there's no reason to believe that we can't go in there, like Sim was saying, and implement the style of play that we're doing. We've done it to Aston Villa. We were unsuccessful. We were unclinical, and that led to being unsuccessful. Versus City, we applied our philosophy, but we also were able to change things to better approach in the midfield. We knew we were getting overrun the midfield. So what did he do? He brought Højbjerg in to kind of stabilize that midfield and give us a little bit more hold and when we passed the ball to each other deep, when it was Vicario and Emerson and everyone was playing the ball to each other and trying to play short, it was like when Højbjerg was there, a lot more confidence. So I'm not saying Højbjerg should start. I know I'm not trying to lend to the title of what your show is called today, but honestly, I just look at, I trust whatever Ainge wants to put out there at this point. Any 11 he puts out, whatever tweaks and changes he wants to make at halftime. I love the quotes coming out at halftime personally as well. I just think that feeds into the mentality we're building here.
I completely agree.
Just a quick one on Jacob when he's saying about quick turnaround. Newcastle also do play on Thursday, so they also have the same amount of time.
And they also have a pivotal Champions League game a few days after playing us as well. So it'll be interesting to see if they have one eye on that as well.
Yeah, that's also a good point.
Very good note. Yeah, I like that.